Hello and welcome back to part two of this challenge of this series where we're discussing service accommodation versus rent to rent, which is the best strategy and why. So if you're just watching this video and you haven't seen part one, first of all, my name's Azir Thatcher. I'm the campaign director at OnizuMedia. People come to me when they're looking to get more customers from the internet. I'm also a property sourcer and I find investment properties for myself and my clients all over the UK. And if you would like to figure out how to actually implement systems in your business that'll actually pull leads in to your business, then go and check out a free 5-day workshop that I'm doing at getleadswithvideoads.com, which you can see scrolling below. If you like the information on this video and the last video, then please do give me a thumbs up, and because it helps me to know to make more videos like this. And if you know anybody that would like this information or find it useful, then please do let them know about it. So in the last video, we talked about rent to rent, and I basically told you how it was a strategy that people used to build up a cash flow, and it's pretty good. You work with HMOs or shared accommodation, so you lease that off of a landlord, and you then become a landlord and you sublet to tenants legally, and you collect the rent. The profits coming in minus your expenses, and the rent that you give to landlord is where you make your profits. Now, service accommodation is a little similar to that in the sense that what you're doing is, or you can actually lease property from a landlord, and instead of doing a shared accommodation model, so you're doing like an HMO where you're letting out to 5 or more people, what you can actually do is you can rent it out to just 2 people, and what you're or just 1 person. You can lend it out to less people is the point I'm trying to make. And why this is significantly good is because essentially service accommodations like Airbnb, you're running your own Airbnb, you're in the service industry, hospitality industry, you are essentially becoming like a bed and breakfast for people, for travelers. You're offering short-term lets, whereas rent to rent is a more long-term let. People are renting for 6 or more months. In service accommodation, people are renting up to 90 days at a time, but it's really short term. So maybe like a weekend, a week, a couple of 5 weeks, a couple of months here and there. That's really what service accommodation is like. So just think of it as like a bed and breakfast where you're providing linen and fully furnished property and all the rest of it. So why is this so good? Why is it good cash flowing strategy? Why do people want to get involved in it in the first place? Well, one of the things is, as I told you in the last video, with rent to rent's got low startup costs. Service accommodation's got even lower startup costs, because if you think about it, rent to rent, you have to go out there and you have to furnish the whole property 5 bedrooms. Whereas if you're doing service accommodation, typically the units that most people are operating with is accommodation that has 1 or 2 bedroom accommodations or studio apartments, right? So once you've set up the lounge, you only have to really furnish 1 other bedroom. So your startup costs that get involved are a lot lower with regards to service accommodation than it is with another form, especially if you were leasing the property and then doing the service accommodation model. The other thing that makes it really good is because you are charging, people are coming on. Basically, because you're charging a day rate, you can charge a much bigger premium for those people that come in for just the weekend or whatever. So what you can make in a month on a 2-bedroom property is almost the equivalent as to what you might make on a 5-bedroom HMO. So you're dealing with a lot less tenants and you're a lot smaller properties, and you can actually get just as much money, and sometimes in many cases, much more money on a 2 or 3 bedroom apartment than you can on a 5 or 6 bedroom HMO. So the cash flow is very, very, it can be very, very healthy. Now, the other thing that makes service accommodation is really good is something called the OTAs. Now, this is the online travel agencies like Booking.com, Expedia, Airbnb, all of these people. Instead of you as an HMO manager having to go out there and find tenants, what happens is you can actually have people already on a platform such as Booking.com or Airbnb that are actively looking regularly for accommodation that suits their needs. So you have a captive audience, if you like, that will come and actually rent your property from you. Now, the other good thing also about service accommodation is it can be extremely systemized. In fact, I had a virtual summit event recently where I got some of the country's leading property investors to actually give their thoughts. And one guy who's a specialist in service accommodation was saying how he can run his entire service accommodation business from his smartphone. So that basically means he's got all these apps and everything installed on his smartphone, and he basically just runs his business there. So you can really systemize it. You think about it, Airbnb does all the booking of the place, taking the money, holding deposits, doing all that kind of stuff, sending them all the information. And then they come, and if you've got like a key system, so they can collect the keys, they can check themselves in, they check themselves out. You have your cleaner then come in and clean the property, the maintenance crew come in and deal with any of that kind of stuff, and then it's on to the next one, right? So you can really set up a system so that you're quite hands off, and you're just operating everything really from a smartphone. It's not essential for you to meet your guests, your tenants in your property. In fact, most people prefer not to meet you. They just want to come and go as they please. So that's a really good thing with regards to service accommodation. Now, again, if you're enjoying the information in this video, I'm giving you some new information you hadn't heard before, then please do give me a thumbs up, because like I said, it helps me to make more videos like this. And if you know anyone that might find this information useful, then please do let them know about it. And if you're watching this on a replay, do me a favor, put #replay in the comments so that I know that you've actually come back and watched it. And if you're watching live, then please don't be afraid to actually jump in and actually ask me any questions along the way. I'll pause and answer those. If you like help to get some direct bookings so that you're not having to pay these commissions, these fees to these OTAs like Airbnb and Booking.com, then please do make sure that you show up to the 5-day challenge that I'm running by going to the URL that you're seeing scrolling below, and I'll show you a system that you can implement yourself in your business that will help you to get all the leads that you need, that you'll ever need for your business. So there are some drawbacks, obviously, with service accommodation. Now, one of the things it can be, 1 second, that was the last one. One of the things is it can be impacted by the economy, what the events that's happening right now. The government can come along and shut everything down, travel's out, therefore you no longer are really having guests. They're cancelling left, right and centre. So you're at the mercy of things like that. It doesn't really happen all that often, but when it does, like this current situation, it can be quite devastating to people's businesses if you haven't got a backup plan there. Another thing is the tenant churn. This might not be a bad thing for you, but it depends on how you look at it. But you're always going to have people that come for a short weekend, or they come during the weekday and then they leave. So you're constantly having to find new tenants. So that churn can be quite a negative thing, because you're always chasing tenants constantly. That's just the nature of the business. Then the other thing that makes is a sort of drawback with service accommodation is that because it's so easy to get into, it's almost like the Wild Wild West. Everyone's getting involved. They've got an apartment, they do a little cheeky little thing, and they move people in. And this means is it's ripe for regulation. Some stage, the government's going to step in and start saying, right, all these cowboys got to stop what they're doing. They're going to regulate the business, and then they're going to come down hard. So you need to make sure that you're setting up and doing everything correctly. So lots of regulation that is just pending and just getting ready to come down the line, as with all property investing in general. But definitely I can see service accommodation being a major thing in future. Now, one of the other things, the last thing that I want to touch on is with regards to the antisocial behavior element of things. So unfortunately, because people are coming for short-term stays, what it means is they can use stolen credit cards and things like that to actually make payments, and you won't know till after the fact. They can also come, they can be lovely people, and they can come down for a weekend, like a stag weekend, the lads do, a birthday, a celebration of some sort, and they're nice people, and they come into the property, and then they get maybe too drunk, too rowdy, and they end up being sick on your property, trashing the property. Because at the end of the day, it's almost like when you hire a car and you just drive it around, you can rag the engine because you know that at the end of the day you're going to hand it back. Obviously not everybody does that, but that's the mentality that some people have when they're renting a property from you, service accommodation. So those are the pros I've mentioned, those are the cons I've mentioned with service accommodation and rent to rent. My question is, which of those two strategies appeals the most to you, and why? I'd love to know your thoughts. And again, if you need any kind of help with regards to getting more leads for your property business, then don't hesitate to join in the challenge, the 5-day challenge that I'm doing, by going to getleadswithvideoads.com/register, and I'll show you for free exactly how to do that. That's it from me for now. I'll see you in the next video.